This is my ultimate tutorial for how to flip your Kwikset keyhole upside down, even if you have no skills, no tools, and no sense. Their instruction manual tells us that it's okay if it's flipped, but we all know that is a most foul lie. The first thing we need to do is to remove this smaller cylinder from its half-cylinder protective coating. Terminology is my own. And to do that, we're going to have to press the button that causes the coil to release tension. And we see that close up here. But the process is a little bit easier if we remove the screws first. Yes, you can probably hear a heartbeat, and when I first saw this, I thought it was some Edgar Allan Poe shit, but I realized it was because I was holding the camera between my boobs. There's a little nub on the bottom of the cylinder on its exposed side, and we want to center it. It's not going to snap into place or anything. In fact, it's going to want to go left or right, but we just want it right in the middle, and we can just do that with our meat hooks. Basically, if it looks centered, it's good enough. Now we come back to that button. So I just used one of the screws that I took out, and I wedge it in there just to keep that button depressed. Once your lever is in there, as you pull up on it, it will push down on the button, and that will release the tension in the spring. You can see that here. When the lever is in place, we see that the cylinder kind of comes apart from its half moon protective sheath. And then we wedge something. I found some random metal stick, and we wedge it under the nub, and we pull out the cylinder. We have to enter the classroom before we get to the final, most difficult part. So I'm looking here at the doorknob, and I will draw a cross section of it in this orientation. So we have the half pipe, half moon that sticks out, and we have the hole below. This is the half pipe, half moon cylinder protector that sticks out. It's not drawn to scale. So this is the hole below, as it's called in the technical manuals. But the hole isn't a perfect cylinder or straw. There's actually holes and gaps in there and little springs and stuff, and these will be our target. I'm emphasizing our half pipe, half moon here because that's a spring that we will target first. So we need some kind of skinny, long thing that's hard enough to be able to press down on these metal springs. And so I used a bunch of nails of different sizes. So we want to come in towards the half moon side at an oblique angle, and we want to get the tip of our tool into that hole. And then when we use this again as a lever to pull it towards the half pipe, that will depress the spring and release tension on it. So the spring is going to go inwards. This is the goal. In some videos, people said that this is enough, that you just push down on the one spring and then you stick a screwdriver all the way down and whack it, but I found that didn't work well. So I'm going to use a second lever, whatever metal thing that's skinny but hard enough, and I'm gonna stick it at the opposite angle towards the other spring. And again, as I pull it outward, the spring is gonna go inwards, and that will release the tension and our cylinder will pop out. So we apply force on the two levers in opposite directions at the same time. The whole thing comes together, and then bam, it's out. We're going to do the same thing we did in the beginning, and that's use some kind of thing to keep that button depressed, because it also moves another nub out of the way from inside the hole, and it gives us more space to work with for the operation. So we come in with our pokey stick of some sort, And we're coming in at about 40 degrees, directed towards the half moon. And you sort of just have to stick it in there and feel around. And when it catches, you pull it towards the half moon. And that's you're gonna feel the tension. So you're gonna have to like exert some force of your own to keep it under tension that way. Now we're ready for the second pokey stick to go in, and we have to do the opposite thing. So it's going in at the opposite angle. It's more difficult now because we already have one thing in there. But again, we're putting it in and then trying to pull it outward. You will probably fail about 15 to maybe 35 times, but eventually you'll get it, and you're going to save yourself $10 that you pay for that specialized tool. Then finally, when I managed to get it out, it was not in frame, and I didn't even get the money shot of the keyhole coming out. So that was very upsetting, and I had to do it once more. But this allowed me to refine my technique even further. So after I got that first nail pokey stick into place and put that spring under tension, I taped it against the cylinder because it was really hurting my hands holding it there for that whole time. Getting that first spring under tension is not too difficult. So here I'm putting my button presser in again, and that will give me more space to work with in the hole. And then I will begin again poking around trying to get that second spring. So we're going in at an angle again and then pressing outwards, and we are rewarded. The keyhole is really easy to pop in. Just make sure you put it in the orientation you like, and then we'll put the cylinder back in before installing. I made a mistake here because I was still using my button presser, but that actually makes it harder for the cylinder to go back in. So don't do what I did. Just put it in and it comes in really nicely. And then last, you want to reattach your screws and you're ready to have a doorknob.